thing. I think certainly, some veiling for some people means, connecting or maintaining their traditions that they believe to be important. For some people, it's an act of religious service or obligation or whatever, and some people do it because maybe because they need to or they're expected to. And there might be other reasons too. Those are probably, those seem to be the predominant ones, but it's hard to know, in general, or when I see a woman veiled, unless I know them, it's hard for me to come up with a direct, understanding of what that means, because I think it does. For me, it depends on the person a lot. I think sometimes it's triggered curiosity. Like when I see different people, sometimes I wonder, if I could talk to them, I would be interested in knowing why they chose to wear it. But with the veil especially, I guess we're probably differentiating different kinds of clothing styles, but with the veil I don't think as much about it. However, in Turkey, the veil is worn differently in different areas, and for different, just even the veil, not talking about a burqa or whatever, the veil is worn differently, and there's kind of an urban style that they call the turban.
How is it?
It's more, it looks more chic, like they usually matches their clothes. It's tied tight around their head, but it actually does a better job of covering their hair and neck. But at the same time, it actually looks more stylish and kind of, maybe to use a popular parlance, it seems more modern or something, perhaps, and then you see other women wearing very colorful, maybe not matching what the other stuff that they're wearing, kind of covering, and it's tied in the front. And I guess sometimes I associate that with maybe less education, or more, that it tends to be worn more often by women who are more connected with perhaps village life, or older women. For example, you usually see it on older, especially in the city. In Ankara, you'd be very surprised to see a younger woman wearing such a scarf. They're usually wearing the more stylish, but more tightly wrapped version. So for me, I hope I'm not jumping ahead, but it's so rare to see a woman wearing the all black, what they call çarşaf in Turkish, or the all black, sometimes with a visible triangle of their face, like you can see their nose and their eyes, and that's it. Some of them just with the eye slits. When I see that, I think I'm a little bit more surprised, especially because it's so unusual. You see that. I see a woman dressed like that maybe once every couple months. Like, I really believe that even among this category, if you sat down and talked to them individually, I think maybe even a majority of them would have made intentional decisions to wear it themselves and not feel like they're under any pressure to wear it. I'm fairly certain that that's the case by a majority. Not that I think there might be some that don't have much of a choice. More, I feel like the woman in a burqa is a little bit more disadvantaged than a woman in a veil, even in her own personal life, because, especially in Turkish society, because the irony is that they're so completely physically closed off from the outside world, and probably not encouraged all that much in self-expression, especially not in a bodily form, that they're competing against overwhelming. I mean, in a society where even the newspapers are semi-pornographic, like it seems a bit. It seems like a very difficult situation for them. Like maybe because I'm married and I have a wife or whatever, and like know how she thinks about things. I think about like this woman, if she's married, like the fact that her husband leaves home every day and is exposed to a lot different modes of dressing and, immodesty and as they would understand it or whatever. And I think it seems to put her at a real disadvantage, even in her own home or family, perhaps. But at the same time, I think most of those women probably really choose and believe that that's something that they need to do. But it seems for me, it seems like a very difficult choice for them to make, perhaps.
Do you see something political or in there?
I think I really don't. Especially in Turkey with the çarşaf or the burqa type of styles are usually associated with specific communities. They're usually not mainstream communities. They're usually associated with a particular sheikh, like a sheikh or sheikh, or like however you say it, depending on the language. But there's a specific religious leader. People call them sects or cults or whatever, but whatever they are, they're very individual. Like, it's a very individual community, and because of that, it makes them, ironically, I think it makes them almost impossible for them to really have legitimate or deeply ingrained political desires. What they do have, I think, now if you're asking if they have a social agenda, do they hope that society changes or that other people would see as they see or whatever? I certainly think that's true. But it would be hard to argue that that's not true with most people. That most people wish that society saw things more like they saw them. So, but I do think within those communities that they certainly have a social agenda, and they tend to live together in neighborhoods where people have the same view as they do, and they make it hard on people who live in the neighborhood that people aren't readily accepted who don't live that way or make those decisions in their life. So there is some of that, but I think maybe ironically, I think the more extreme that you get in Turkey, the more closed off you are. You're such an extreme minority that any sort of political ambition would seem almost ridiculous. But I think that there probably are social ambitions.